Hey, man.
Hey, Julius.
Man, crazy out here, man.
Yeah, well, what did you expect?
I don't know. I ain't quite expected to be like this.
Ah, sorry. Julius, this is Emma.
Camp over now, huh? Back to the real world, Bertia. This what they integrating us for? We'd have been better off staying where we were.
So we started off our presentation with the video from Remember the Titans, and it's a scene where there's racial discrimination shown by the girlfriend not wanting to shake the African American football player's hand. And so we just thought it would be a good way to incorporate a view of what racial discrimination looks like in schools through a movie that everybody loves. And that's why we incorporated this clip into our project.
How we are seen and how we see others affects various areas of our lives and the lives of others. From the types of jobs we have, the amount of money we make, the kind of friends we make, the places we live, the foods we eat, the schools we go to, and so on. The entire social structure we inhabit is affected by at least one social construction: race. Yes, race. It is evident to most people that racism has always been a problem, and many people, famous people like Martin Luther King Jr., have tried to avoid this topic. However, this has been a hot topic for some time. So why is racism important? What about it strikes interest to people? Well, in A Different Mirror, A History of Multicultural America, race is stated as a social structure produced by the dominant group in society in their power to define. So in the school system, we have the opportunity, the power, to avoid racism in the classroom by all means in positive ways.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
Even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream, deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia,
the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood.
I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi,
a state sweltering with need of injustice, sweltering with need of oppression,
will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children
will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of skin but by the content of their character.
Racial discrimination occurs more often than most people think, and it impacts students today. A great example of students being impacted is the school in the movie Freedom Riders. The male teacher that taught AP English treated the only African American girl in the class like she was stupid, simply because she was of a different race than the rest of the class. Situations like this happen to this day. Some are unintentional, while others are completely intentional. Some people may just assume that something about a person because of the color of their skin, and don't even mean it in a derogatory way. They may not even find it offensive. Others, on the other hand, intentionally try to put someone down simply due to their race. Either way, these situations affect the students and their learning ability negatively. Students may not be presented with the same opportunity because of their race, and it makes education more difficult and less effective for them. Issues like these go all the way back to the ruling in Plessy v. Ferguson, where the Supreme Court ruled that public facilities could be separate for blacks and whites as long as they were of equal caliber. Obviously, this was a mistake and none of the facilities were actually equal. Eventually, the Supreme Court came to their senses and they reversed the decision in Brown v. Board of Education, Topeka, Kansas, where they said separate but equal was not constitutional due to the fact that by being separate, they were automatically unequal. and so schools had to be integrated as quickly as possible. Obviously, there are still areas affected by events such as these today, and this is an issue our nation needs to address in order to help students who are affected by racial discrimination.
Racism is important to recognize in the school system because of different issues that can stem from this problem of racism, like arguments or fights. Teachers must find ways in their teaching style to avoid stereotyping at all costs. Although stereotyping may not be eliminated in the classroom, the teachers have the opportunity and obligation to see that their curriculum taught is free of racism and stereotyping. As Joseph A. Banks points out, in most societies, the social significance of race is much more important than the presumed physical differences among groups. As teachers may struggle with this with their students, it is important that they separate their cultural attitudes and values and show no discrimination in the classroom in order to focus on the person and not the color of their skin, where they came from, or what they believe.
After talking a little bit about racial discrimination in the classroom, let's move on to how we need to respond to this issue in education. For starters, we should simply make everybody more aware. People are obviously already aware of this issue. However, we should just do little things here and there, whether it be have forums, have a guest speaker, have a survey, set aside class time to talk about the issue. Whatever it may be, we should just go above and beyond and do everything we can to ensure that everybody is well aware of racial discrimination in schools today. Another thing we can do is closely monitor it. We should have somebody who is in charge of looking over the schools and making sure that every student is being presented with equal opportunities regardless of race. This way, nobody is being left out or discriminated against. Obviously, these are just a couple of ideas. I hope that these ideas were able to kickstart some of your brains and make them start thinking about ways that you can help in the future, though.
Only Ken's allowed in here.
Alice, are you blind? Don't you see the family resemblance? That's my brother.
A few important yet subtle historical antecedents that can be connected to Remember the Titans is stereotyping and racism. This scene shows that Gary does not stereotype, nor does he show any racism towards Julius. He disregards the fact that Julius is a different color, and he claims him as his brother. Stereotyping is the process of attributing behavioral characteristics to all members of a group. In some cases, stereotypes are formed on the basis of limited experience with and information about the group being stereotyped and the validity of these stereotypes not being questioned. As a teacher, it is not always going to be easy to eliminate stereotyping or racism from the students, but the teacher has an obligation to see that the curriculum and instruction is free of any form of stereotyping or racism.
As we wrap up this presentation, I hope that you've all learned something about racial discrimination in the classroom and how it affects teachers as well as students. I also hope that you've learned a thing or two about what we should do as future teachers in order to prevent racism in the classroom. Now, to wrap things up, I'm going to show one more video, and this video is a TED Talk about how to cure racism. Thank you.
Welcome. The understanding that we want to have with regard to using psychology is we're going to take a stage approach to curing racism. The importance of this work extends beyond that, though, right? If we're going to work on an individual, we might as well work on ourselves. So I'm pretty sure no one in here has ever done anything racist. But we also want to make this preventative. What's the use of a cure if it can't also help us to stave off illness, right? So 2 stages, curative, preventative. So let's leap right into it, see what we come up with. First, what we have to have, the most critically important part of any practice in curing racism is going to be mindfulness. Knowing that I feel this way and am doing this thing. Being aware of what these signs and symptoms are. How does it impact other people? When I do something, I'm not simply doing it, there's intent behind it, and it's harming someone. Mindfulness. Processing, which is also going to include perspective taking. See, we as a community of thinkers and people are not going to help individuals who are racist recover if we don't, in fact, understand where they are and what their experience is. Yes, there are some racist crimes, but the racists themselves are human beings. The same way someone with drug addiction is a human being who does terrible things but can recover. And if there is no place for them to recover, to come to, if there is no landing spot for their humanity, what are they going to return to? What they were already doing. Exposure. We're going to need to expose ourselves and individuals who are racist to healthier ideas and healthier relationships and healthier ways of being. Lastly, community reintegration and support. Literally, when we bring them back to us, we have to support them. We have to give them ourselves.